So today we're going to talk about why your foundation doesn't look good. I'm also going to be sharing some tips and tricks to make your complexion look like your skin but better. And what about all the products that we apply on top of our foundation? How do we make it look seamless and not look like it's painted on? So in case you're interested, then keep on watching. Hey guys, it's Kat and welcome to my channel. Have you ever bought a foundation that just doesn't look good on your face? You walk out of the store, you feel great, you got the right undertone, the right formula for your skin type, and when you get home and you apply it, it still doesn't look good. Like I said, I'm going to be sharing with you some small tips and tricks that are truly going to elevate your foundation game. Also, what happens when you apply bronzer, contour, blush, highlighter on top of your foundation, how to make it look seamless, how to make it look like one natural complexion as opposed to slapping on a bunch of makeup. And be sure you stay till the end because the last tip is truly game changing. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Okay, you guys, I had to pull my hair back because we are focusing on the complexion. The first thing I want to start out with, of course, is primer. And the primer that I'm going to use is an oldie but goodie. And I love bringing out products that we've forgotten about. Now, in a perfect world with words and phrases like blurring, clumping, it seems too good to be true. It's not just about the products, it's all in application. So today I'm going to be using the Caliray So Blown Clean Blurring Primer with collagen peptides. This is a wonderful hydrating primer, and I'm just going to put a tiny bit. When you apply your primer, I only apply it where I absolutely need it, and where I really need it is in the center of my face. And that's where I have most of my texture, my pores. Now, if you're new to my channel, I am 57 years old. I do have hyperpigmentation, melasma, texture, fine lines, but I find this pore filling primer works excellent in filling in those fine lines and wrinkles, and it has a beautiful, luscious, yummy scent. I don't know what it is. It smells tropical almost. This is such a fantastic primer for evening out the texture and just creating a really smooth canvas. Now, one big misconception about why our foundation doesn't look good on our skin, and it tends to wind up cakey or patchy, is that we apply our skincare and then immediately apply makeup on top of it. A good tip is once you apply your morning skincare and sunscreen, I like to wait at least 30 minutes to an hour for all those ingredients, all that skincare, all the SPF to absorb into the complexion. Same with primer. You want to give the primer the opportunity to absorb into your skin. You don't want it to just sit on top of your skin. There's a big misconception about makeup. You want to just place it on top of the complexion. You want to let those products do their magic, do the work, and really absorb into your complexion. And usually what I do is I typically apply my primer first and then I fill in my brows. Now, brows take forever for me because I have barely any eyebrows because I literally plucked them out in the 90s. So for me, it takes about a good 10 minutes to fill in my brows. So once I apply the primer, I just go in and do my brows. But I will spare you that pain because doing brows is the worst on camera. While this is absorbing into the complexion, let's talk about foundation. There's so many different types of foundation. You got serum foundations, you've got skin tints, you've got matte coverage, you've got a dewy coverage, you got a radiant finish. There's so many different types of finishes. Do you ever wonder why your foundation looks good one day and then you put it on the next day and it looks completely different? That has happened to me so many times. And I review makeup, I test makeup out all the time on this channel, and I figured out some great tips to help you out. And for today's foundation, what I'm going to use is from MAC. It is their Studio Radiance Serum Foundation. Now, it sounds hydrating, it sounds perfect to lay beautifully on the skin. But what I like to do to get a more glowy, more dewy complexion is I like to take my regular foundation, and it can be any foundation from your collection, something that you add to it, it's just going to elevate your skin. I like to take one pump of the foundation, then I'm going to add a dewy primer to the foundation. And today I'm going to be using the Niacinamide Yummy Skin Glow Serum. You're probably thinking, wait a minute, it's only going to add a little bit of glow. And I'm going to take one tiny drop like that. And I'm going to mix it in with the foundation. And I'm just going to use my fingertips. You're going to get a beautiful glow Even though the MAC is a serum foundation, adding the Yummy Skin is just gonna bring it to a whole new level. And once I've warmed it up on the back of my hand, and I've talked about this before, be sure to warm the product up on the back of your hand using your fingertips. You really want to get that body temperature. What I like to do is make sure that's nicely warmed up and mixed. You want to start at the very center of your complexion. And I've talked about this before, focusing on your most problem areas. And for me, it's right in the center of my face. So I'm gonna concentrate in that area. You're gonna get a beautiful, healthy glow, but you're also gonna get coverage from that foundation. But the most important thing is really working the product, the foundation, into the skin. You don't want it to sit on top of your skin. You want it to become a part of your skin. And what I like to do, take a nice stiff kabuki brush. I like to hold it close to the bristles and just really stippling it in. Makeup is, to me, 90% application, 10% product. So if you're not applying it correctly, it's gonna work against you. So really make sure you're stippling it into the complexion and not letting it sit on top. So as you're stippling it in, you're getting that coverage, it's getting into the complexion, and then on other parts of your face, I like to blend it and just softly blending it, moving my hands back on the brush and using lighter pressure where I don't need that much coverage. And you get a beautiful result. It's all about blending, it's all about application, you guys. If you want, you can still apply more right through there. It's not gonna get cakey because you're literally pushing the product into the skin. We can double cleanse later. And then again, where my hands are, really pushing that product, the foundation, into the most problematic areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my lights down so you can see the difference. So here we are at 20%. This is the side with no makeup and just the primer. And this is the side with the glowy primer and the foundation. Do you see how smooth it is, especially through this area? When you focus the bristles of the brush onto the complexion and really stippling it in, it's going to become part of your complexion and not just sitting on top. It's not about the foundation, it's about the application. So let's go ahead and apply it on the left side. I still have a generous amount of foundation and the glowy primer on the back of my hand. And again, focusing on the center of the complexion, I'm going to be very generous today with foundation. I like to apply makeup only where I need it, primarily through there. I know some people like to use a dampened beauty sponge, but in my opinion, you're absorbing a lot of that product into the beauty sponge. Of course, it's great to get more sheer looks, but if you're looking for coverage and you're looking for a way to really put the product into the complexion, I love using a kabuki brush. To really get a seamless look, you have to put a little elbow grease into it. But this is what the complexion looks like after really blending it into the complexion. Now for concealer, the biggest misconception is to apply more if we have dark circles or discoloration. I think less is more, and it's in how you apply it and what type of formula you like to use. For today's video, I'm going to be using the Creal Face Flex Concealer. You know I've been loving this. It is on the pricier side, but you only need a tiny bit, which is perfect, using the mantra less is more. So just take the tip of the concealer and add a tiny bit right through there where I know I can blend it out. And I love to put it through here. I do have discoloration around my eyes, right where I tend to get red. If I get a little too much, I will simply redirect it where I like to brighten and spot conceal. What's wonderful about this concealer is it literally sets itself. It doesn't settle into fine lines, and it does a beautiful job of hydrating the under eye area, but also covering up discoloration. I know this sounds like a broken record. It's all in application. I like to take a firm brush like this and just gently tap it in, especially under the eye. You want to be gentle, but you also want to make sure this is seamless and blended out. I want to make sure from this area to this area, it is seamless. And don't you hate when you find foundation kind of crusting up on the side of your nose? I can't stand that. So I make sure once I apply concealer or foundation in that area that you truly tap it in so it's absorbed, and then taking that brush and stippling it in through there. It takes a little longer in the process, but the end result is going to be so beautiful. For bronzer, today I'm going to go in with the cream bronzer, and I'm going to show you how to apply it where it looks really, really seamless. I'm going to take it on a brush, and today I'm just using the Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer. So you take a little bit on the brush, tap it off the back of your hand, and then you go into the complexion. And what I'm going to do is I'm gently just pressing it in like that. And I'm going up into the hairline, really pressing the product into the skin. And don't worry, we'll be blending it. That way you're not just globbing onto the product. Take it on the brush, back of your hand. It's already warmed up. And then right across where the sun is going to naturally hit it, I like to take it and just kind of, as if I'm brushing it into my hair. I know that sounds gross, but it really will look seamless and just kind of add that glow. And you can use this with powder bronzers, cream bronzers, liquid bronzer, and then take a little bit right along the jawline. And now for the side of my nose and contouring, I'm just going to take a little bit off the back of my hand and just pressing it. Like that. Now for blush, we're going to apply it the same way, pressing it into the skin. And today I'm just going to go in with the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush, and I'm going to use a super bright color to make a point. And you'll see my point at the end of the video. You know I love this liquid blush. I think it's beautiful, and you only need one dot, literally. So what I like to do is take it off the doe foot, get a tiny dot, smile, and I'm going to place it higher. And then right through there. And this is a blush where you have to really start working quite fast and tapping it in. There's a reason why I'm using this really bright blush, because you're probably thinking this is way too bright, I can never pull it off. But once we get everything together, you're gonna see how everything is going to blend beautifully. I'll be a little daring and I'll get a little bit more. Oh boy, that might have been too much, but this is a beautiful blush to work with. You do have to work kind of fast, but I've been known to put more blush on one side than the other side, so I'm going to show you how we can fix that as well. I know I look like a clown right now, but once this is all done, you'll see the method to my madness. So what I want to do next is do a quick eyeshadow look, and I'll share with you some final tips on how to make all of this come together. Okay, eyes are done. I just did a very simple neutral eyeshadow look using the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the neutrals. This is my go-to eyeshadow palette. I've talked about this 100 times on this channel. It is just the quintessential neutral eyeshadow palette, and I really wanted to focus on the complexion. And right now, the complexion is looking like we've got bronzer on, blush on, eyes on. We want the complexion to look seamless. So how do we achieve that? It's super simple, and you're only going to use one tool. But before we get into that last tip, we need to set the under eyes. So what I'm going to use is the Tarte Creaseless Setting and Brightening Powder. You know I love this. This is a staple in my collection. It comes in 6 shades. I'm in the shade yellow, and this is a beautiful Amazonian clay formula, and it comes with a little sponge. Take a tiny bit. You really don't need a lot. This is really going to set the makeup, set the under eye area. Again, tap off the excess, and I'm just gonna press it, again, working with the skin, not against it, pressing it where I need to set that concealer. And again, right through here. And even though the Creal concealer literally sets itself, this is just a double insurance clause, and it works beautifully. We have so many products on top, that's why I need to press it in like that. And then right under my nose, where I tend to get red, what am I doing with this hand? Right between the brows. This is a fantastic setting powder, but this method works with any type of powder. And see how I'm actually catching part of the blush as I'm setting it? It's going to mute it and soften it at the same time. but still giving that impact. Now that I have the powders on top of the skin, I'm gonna go with my highlighter, grab a brush, tap off the excess, and I'm literally pressing it into the skin. I'm not sweeping it like that. I'm pressing it into the complexion because we've got so many layers of primer, foundation, concealer, bronzer, blush, and we are just pressing it on top of it. And then a little bit down the front of the nose and Cupid's bow. I'm just gonna throw on some lips. And today I'm just gonna go in with the Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss. This is a plumping lip gloss in the shade Velvet. Just a little bit of pigment, because like I said, I wanna focus on the complexion. And now for the final step. You think we're done? We're not. We're gonna make all of this look seamless, even more seamless. And for the final step, you're gonna kick yourself. This is super easy, but it makes such a huge difference. You're gonna take a big brush like this, super fluffy. I believe this is the BK Beauty 103. I had never used a big brush like this before. I mean, like, what's the purpose? Like, seriously. But I'm gonna take a tiny bit of that powder, of the setting powder, and really tap off all the excess. Even using the back of my hand, you just want a tiny bit of powder. What you're gonna do is take the brush, hold it as far back as possible, and you're just going to literally, in circular motions, blend that. It's going to remove the excess powder that we just applied with a little triangular sponge and really seamlessly blending it all together. You're removing the excess powder, so you're removing the potential for it to get cakey. Whatever is on the complexion, we pressed it in with that little triangular sponge. So it's in the skin, but we're just dusting off and blending the rest of the makeup. And what you're gonna come up with is a super smooth complexion where you don't see the lines, the harsh lines of the bronzer, or where your blush stops and starts, or where your concealer stops and starts. But this is the final look. Remember, it's all about application, really pressing the product into the complexion, not letting it sit on top. Once you use that final step of using loose powder and dusting off the remainder, you're really gonna have a seamless, beautiful, even complexion. Do you have a foundation that's a little too mattifying, that doesn't sit right on your skin? Add a juicy, dewy primer to it, mix it in together, then apply it. You're really gonna see a difference. Your complexion is gonna look healthier. You're also covering up any sort of imperfections you have on the skin, but this is what it looks like in the end. I think it looks natural. You're not gonna get any sort of cakey mess because we dusted off all of that powder, but we also made sure all the products on the skin are pressed into the skin. I mean, heck, we can double cleanse tonight, right? And FYI, this will stay bulletproof all day long. I could not believe how beautiful my skin still looked after 12 hours, but I find that these tips have really elevated my complexion foundation looks. No more cakiness. Make sure you dust off all that loose powder, but make sure initially pressing those products into the skin so it is very smooth. You don't have to have the smoothest complexion, but make sure you work those products into the complexion so you create a nice canvas. So those are my tips and tricks to make your foundation look good. What are your thoughts? Let us know down in the comments. Do you have any tips or tricks that can help us out? I would love to hear them. You'd be helping me out as well as our community. But yeah, I think this turned out so pretty. The skin looks good. I can't get over it. It really looks natural. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease, a little bit of patience, and your complexion will look beautiful. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. And if you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. I would love it if you'd be a part of our family. But for now, mwah, mahal kita. I love you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.